So I'm going to call to order the City Council meeting for July 8th, 2020. It is 4 p.m. or actually a little after 4. And I'll start with the call to order. And next is roll call. So Councilman Couch. I don't see him. Councilman McGoffin. I don't see him either. Councilman Owen is here. Councilman Allen is here. Councilman DeYoung is here.
Present.
Councilwoman Cornegay, did she make it on?
Not yet, Mayor.
Okay. And Councilwoman Kinzer, hello, I see you,
Hello.
Brenda.
Hello.
Okay, I am looking for someone to make a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by, actually I heard Councilwoman Kinzer come in. I'm going to say motion by Councilwoman Kinzer, seconded by Councilman Owen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same motion. Okay, motion carries. The consent agenda, 2 items, the minutes and finance.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember DeYoung moves the 2 consent items, please.
Councilman seconds.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Councilman McGoffin.
Oh, there you are. Nice. Welcome, Brendan.
Hey, sorry I'm a little bit late. Got off.
No worries. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda by, motion was made by Councilman DeYoung, seconded by Councilman McGoffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Moving on to staff reports. I see you, Chief Tucker, so I'll start with you first.
All right. For those that got involved in watching some of the protest on Saturday, everything went really smooth. Everybody was well behaved. We had a small contingent of Black Lives Matter that
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Bad time to freeze.
Yeah.
some of the parades seem to be going fine. So now, one thing that did come up beforehand is that we had reports of people spray painting black BLM on the sidewalks. And I can't remember if I'd already shared this with any of you all, but they actually did that with spray chalk. So there was actually no damage done. The only damage done was somebody got upset and then spray painted regular paint over the chalk to cover up the Black Lives Matter. So the original thing was no problem. The cover up was worse. But I think they were working on cleaning that up. Otherwise, the 4th of July was I don't know what the scientific term for complete zoo was, but it was a nut house. We had lots of calls, lots of stuff going on. We had a search warrant in the middle of all this, and so we ended up just about stretched as far as we can get, and we actually had 9 people on when I came on at 9 p.m. on Saturday night. So we had a lot of stuff going on and a lot of people working awful hard. My crew did an outstanding job. They worked a lot of long hours. A couple of them were working double shifts. We did have one businessman go out of business over the evening of the 4th, but it was a cocaine dealer, so I don't think anybody minds too much. The only other things I've got are, we've got Dion Witt is graduating from the academy on Friday, so we'll have him thrown into the mix. Really looking forward to him. He is a really good kid. And then we've got Harry McGahey heading off to the academy on the 28th. And we're starting to get academy dates trickled in for all of our other, or several of our other candidates. So we're seeing some movement there, which is nice to see. That thing that joke, the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, it's not a train anymore. It's some hope for some young people coming on board. And that's all I have, Mayor, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for the chief?
Chief?
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I have
One
it.
question. Okay. Go ahead.
This Councilmember DeYoung. How are we doing on the investigation of the graffiti of the Baptist Church on State Street?
You know, I haven't heard on that one. You know, I don't know that we had any video of that covered anything. I'll have to check and see. We're still picking up the pieces from Saturday and just trying to keep up with some of this stuff. Not on top of everything, but I'll check back and I'll let you know.
I really appreciated seeing so many law enforcement out and folks buddied up and folks from around the area coming together to do an interlocal. It was good to see. Thank you.
Oh, and I almost forgot to say this. The sheriff came through. When I talked to the sheriff and the other chiefs about this, nobody had any manpower available, and the sheriff dug deep and provided us a bunch of help. And I think what that did was it just gave us all a little bit of wiggle room if anything had gone south, and nothing did. So it was outstanding. It's good to have our partners from the sheriff's office.
All right. Thank you. And actually, there were a lot of other protest parades going on at the same time, was there not? Yep.
Yeah.
So I know.
Anna Cordes had one where guys were carrying rifles around. And then I think Samish Island had one that was going on, and it was all just a little bit of a drain on everybody's part. So it actually, I think it all worked out well. I don't think there were any major incidents in Skagit County. So I think it went just fine.
Great. All right. I know you put in a lot of hours, you and your team. Thank you.
I'll put in for overtime on that. I'll put in my.
I'm sure you will. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Chief Klinger, I see you're back from vacation.
Yes,
Hello.
I'm back. We didn't have any protest parades in Twisp, but the guys here, they ran over that weekend, about 45 plus calls, 3 CPRs. They flew 3 people. They had the shooting. It was a very busy weekend for the crews, and they handled it with great ease. So kudos to them. And we have a special ceremony we're going to do tomorrow for our medic that helped deliver the baby. So we're excited for that. Other than that, we're just continuing business as normal.
All right. And you always do a good job. You do. You've got a good team there as well. Thank you. Moving on to Director of Building, Mr. Coleman.
Good evening. Thank you. So I just have one thing to talk about. We're going to be talking about a couple of different things later in today's meeting. But another item that we had been working on, I've postponed until the July 22nd meeting. That is the accessory dwelling unit fees. I postponed that to the July 22nd meeting because it dovetails nicely with Mark Freiberger's, the Public Works Department's agenda item on that day for fees for the sewer comprehensive plan fees, I think it is, or the traffic, I'm sorry, it's the traffic impact fees for that day. So we'll move that item to next week. We also have a required public hearing for the moratorium that we put into place at the end of June. We put an emergency moratorium in, and whenever you have a moratorium, you need to have a public hearing. So that was already scheduled for July 22nd. So it all worked out nicely to move the ADU fees topic to July 22nd. And I'll talk to you more about our agenda items later in this meeting.
Great. Thank you. And Director of Public Works, Mark Freiberger.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just a few things. As John mentioned, on the next agenda, you'll have the public hearing and the first read for the transportation impact fee ordinance update. That's the one that you saw at the work session back in April, I believe it was. So that'll be coming to you for your first look, and then a possible adoption on the possible adoption the following meeting. You'll have the second reading tonight for the tip. I won't talk about that now. We had the pre-bid meeting for the wastewater treatment plant electrical improvements projects, had a good attendance. There's 10 plan holders, so we're looking forward to some good bids on that. The bids close on the 16th, and so my plan is to have that for you if we get a good bid for award on the 22nd of July, just to let you know that'll be coming. We also today requested bids. We did an invitation for bids under our limited public works process for the wastewater treatment plant diffuser upgrade project, or its aeration system for the digesters, I should say. And so I have sent the invitation to 4 contractors that I know are qualified for that type of work. One of which is the company who built the equipment. They're probably the preferred provider. Hopefully we'll get a good bid from them on that. They certainly would be the most qualified. That one closes on the 16th as well. I gave 1 week for response since it's not a public bid. And we hope to award that one on the 22nd. A little bit of a time crunch on that due to the normal operations of our plant. Debbie would like to see that work completed by the end of August. And so that one will be coming up. Debbie, of course, is on the countdown for her retirement. That'll be on the 21st of August. And I don't suppose we'll be able to do our normal thank you for her many years of service, over 30, 32 or 34, something like that. But just to let you know, and I'll be talking to Doug about what we do want to do now, and maybe we'll have her come back when we can have a public meeting again, and just say thanks to her for her good service over these many years. I know she's been a pleasure to work with for me. Certainly has been something I haven't had to spend a lot of time thinking about operationally down there because of her competence. And you know, we're looking forward to Kevin, who has already more or less moved into that supervisor's role, taking over a well-run plant and continuing that again for many years. So along that same line, we also have the sewer comprehensive plan in draft form now. We've been delayed on getting that to you for your review because of COVID-19, but we do have that set up for a planning commission hearing on July the 21st, and you'll see it on August the 12th, assuming everything goes right for that. That one will take a couple of reads and then adoption, hopefully the last meeting in August, first meeting in September. We had the pre-bid meeting, we have the pre-construction meeting scheduled for the West Lane widening project on Highway 20 for the 15th, and then for the Jameson overlay on the 16th. And on the Jameson overlay, David Lee has been sending notices out. He sent one round of notices out to the public there, and we will do another one when we get a firm schedule in hand. It'll be very important to coordinate parking along Jameson and get that cleared for the couple of days we need to grind the edges and then to pave it. And so Wally Hoyt's been out knocking on doors and making contacts regarding that. Nathan's also working on the Northern State Hospital fencing project. We have a grant for that. I know Doug and Nathan met and talked about finances on that today. We have the archaeological survey, which is required, happening shortly on that in preparation for the fence work that will follow. And also Nathan's crews are around town trying to prep for the chip seal project that's coming up. They've got some edge pulling to do and some things like that. They've been struggling to work around the rain having a little bit short crew, but that's coming along. And Nathan has the Hauser Park paving scheduled for the 24th, and the irrigation work scheduled to end by the first day of August. And so that's all moving ahead there. We're hoping to have all that ready for the opening of soccer season. I believe it's the second or third week in August. So coming right up, should have a very fine facility for the young folks to use this year. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and also Steve retired, and we never had opportunity to give him a good send-off either. So those are conversations that probably we ought to discuss. Yeah. All right, next on to Director Jill Scott, Finance.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Council. It's a lot happening in finance. Been busy the last couple weeks, but it's a lot of just daily operations, lots of small projects and various inquiries from different departments. We'll be gearing up for our budget soon, and so we'll be working with Doug on the budget calendar. And other than that, we're just keeping busy here.
Okay, thank you. And Director Bill Chambers, IT.
Yes, just assisting Public Works with public surplus auctions. A lot of those are have wrapped up, and getting switched over to a new wireless plan with Verizon Wireless for that'll give us priority and unlimited data on our data-only devices that police and fire use mainly. The council upgrade, the AV upgrade, has actually begun. They came in on Monday while I was out and started the installation in the rack. I believe they've got everything done except for the cameras. So that's kind of exciting. And several meetings scheduled for through Zoom for building planning and engineering. Fiber franchise agreement work, we're going to be revisiting that, and helping departments with CARES Act reimbursable purchases.
So lots going on. It's kind of sad to think that probably the AV upgrade will be there a while before we have opportunity to make use of it.
Well, we'll try.
It's disappointing to think about, actually. Yeah. So I want to acknowledge Councilman Couch. I've kind of thumbing through the agenda here, and I see that you've come in, so I want to make note of that. Councilman Couch is here. City Attorney Nikki Thompson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. I don't have anything of interest to the group to add this evening.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nikki. And City Supervisor Doug Merriman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm going to poke at Nikki for a minute. She always comes in and says, you know, not much of interest, but she has a ton of stuff going on that she's helping us with and doing a great job on that. So in her humbleness, I'm going to jump in there and say she's being really helpful, and we sure enjoy having her on staff with us.
Very true. I agree.
Yeah. So kind of moving to my list of things, I've been really interested in watching what our revenues are doing, especially now that we went through the end of June. And once again, our sales tax numbers didn't fluctuate very much. Sometimes I wonder, you know, we don't have a huge retail base. You know, sometimes it's a downside, but then the good side is we don't have a real huge retail base. So there isn't a lot to lose there, but it is still significant for us, and as are our businesses in town. So I think I had mentioned in an email I sent out to council, what we have seen is some minor fluctuations in different sectors in our retail base. It's been made up for by people shopping online and seeing sales tax go up in Amazon and those different types of businesses. And at the same time, sales tax from some one-time construction projects, those two items are filling the gap. So at least so far, knock on wood, we're doing okay for revenues, but we'll see how that goes going forward. So one of the things to kind of try to offset some of that downturn in revenues is outside funding. And there are a few different areas we've been working very hard on to see if we can get grant funding to cover costs related to the pandemic. And a couple of them that we're working on, the first is CARES. You heard Bill mention inventorying costs for that. The CARES grant program, we can get $350,000. It's reimbursable. So we have to spend it to get it. But we're actually moving forward on that. I just signed our agreement, our interagency agreement with the Department of Commerce today. So we have that all in place and ready to go. So we're inventorying things like our time records for direct costs spent on the pandemic, things like operating supplies. And a really key one is any technology enhancements we've done to help us communicating and things like that during the pandemic. So there's a lot of flexibility with CARES, and the time period isn't bad. We can pull in anything from March 1st till the end of October. The only caveat there is if you take a snapshot back in March 27th, if it was in our budget, we can't apply for it. So it's those things that weren't budgeted at the time. So there's a lot of little twists and turns and rules on these items, but we have stand a good chance of getting some reimbursement back in these grant programs. The second one we're looking at is FEMA. And FEMA is a squirrely character a little bit because they really just want to reimburse for true emergency type items. They have to be temporary. So if you have supplies you're buying or things that you're going to consume, those qualify. We can go back to January 20th on those. But the key thing there, it can't be anything permanent. So things like technology upgrades or things like that, you can't put in for FEMA. The other area, it's kind of a subcategory of FEMA. It's called HEROES funding. And that's in play right now. A lot of that still has to get settled out, but we're working with FEMA on that. And that's primarily for some premium pay for our first responders if we qualify for that. So the third one, and kind of the last of the bunch, is called Payroll Protection Plan, or PPP. And we gave that one a shot, but found out that cities don't qualify. So unfortunately, we can't get that one. That was a loan you would be given if you keep all your staff employed. And after a certain period of time, they forgive the loan. So it's basically a grant. But unfortunately, cities can't apply. We even tried looking to see if our utilities as a kind of sub-entity of the city could apply, and that didn't get too far either. So, but that's okay. We still have CARES and FEMA to work on, and we'll be doing that. Kind of moving to a couple of different areas. The library, based on our meeting we had on Tuesday morning with the contractor and our partners, we're still looking at late September as being substantially complete. At least on our schedule right now, we have 32 days that were added to the schedule because of snow days and COVID shutdown. So that's not too bad. We're still looking at September as that date. So far, we've spent $5.3 million on the project with a total budget of $8.8 million. So we're moving along right there. Currently, we're still on target for budget, and things are looking good there. And speaking of budget, Jill mentioned a minute ago, she's working on putting together the budget calendar. So we're just making sure all our dates and everything comply with state law, and we'll be getting that out to you with timelines and a little bit of description of how it might be different this year because we have a biennial budget. So that'll be a first for us. It'll be interesting to see how that process goes. So those are the main items that I'm working on right now. Aside from working with departments on different things they have, it seems like there's never an ending list of contracts and things that we're doing, but it's all fun stuff and it really keeps us moving. So that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Moving on to council members. Let's start with Councilman Couch. Do you have a report?
Sorry, it took me a second to find the unmute button. Madam Mayor, nothing to report at this time.
All right, thank you. Councilman McGoffin.
I'd just like to give a special thanks to the city departments for handling that influx over the weekend, and they did a great job. So thank you guys.
Thank you. And Councilman Owen. You have to unmute, Chuck, unmute your. There you go.
When I'm muted. I just want to give the police department a thumbs up, man. I mean, everywhere you went over the weekend, there was a policeman there, and we had the little protest parade. They called it a protest. I call it a parade, but it was very good, and I was glad to see there was about 100 vehicles there, and every vehicle was flying a law enforcement flag and a fire department flag, and that made me feel good. And that goes to show you that our police department has a lot of support out there. And I think we're real blessed to have that police department. I can't explain how the force felt to me. You know, it was kind of hollow. There was no carving, no carnival, but I got through it, and I really enjoyed it. I spent a lot of times with friends, and like I say, the parade made my day because it was so patriotic, and it was peaceful, very peaceful. And that's about all I have to say, and I'm glad everybody got through the 4th okay with no hangovers and no injuries or stuff like that.
Thank you, Councilman Owen. Councilman Allen. Okay, nothing to report. Good. All right. Councilman DeYoung.
Thank you. Just also wanted to thank the police department for the professionalism and highly trained skill that was out there. I haven't heard of any incidents, and of course we wouldn't. So thank you for all you do, and also, boy, did we have a lot of ad hoc fireworks in the neighborhood, and folks made up for not having the fireworks show down on River Road. And it was nice to see folks celebrate and then clean up afterwards. And also walking around, seeing the bounty of some backyard gardens happening. So folks are enjoying that. So just remember to wash our hands, wear our masks, and be safe out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't know if Councilwoman Cornegay made it on. It doesn't sound like it. And Councilwoman Kinzer.
I think Chuck and Carl stole my thunder because they said basically everything I wanted to say. But yeah, special thank you to our law enforcement and fire departments and everybody who was out there keeping the peace over the weekend. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to our police department for posting something on the Facebook page within, I don't know, 10 minutes of my request about a little girl who was lost, and she was found safely. So I just really appreciate them getting it on Facebook so quickly.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you. I just want to remind everybody, please remember to share that we are doing the, you heard Doug mention the CARES funds from the money that we're getting, and I'm taking part of that, or we're taking part of that, about 50,000 of it, and we're putting it into grants for businesses. We have extended the deadline to the 17th simply because it over the holidays it turned out to be I think a little much for people. They were kind of overwhelmed between the masks and everything else that was happening. So the CARES grant for business owners is extended until the 17th of July. I wanted to thank Don Collin again for the flyover that he arranged. The Wolf Pack is what the group is called. They've been doing it for several years now. And yeah, and he loves to do it. He does it in memory and in honor of those who have given their lives, given all. And I also want to thank the Lions Club again for the virtual parade. That was really lovely, and they did a great job, and it was appropriate, and it was just fun that they did it, that they did something completely different. So interesting that we have seen an increase in the numbers, the COVID numbers. As far as the new cases, last time we met on 6/24, there were 22 new cases. There are now 41. The total number of cases, at last council meeting, it was 485. Now they're 555. Still no new deaths, and that's the best news of all. Total number of deaths just totals 15. The number hospitalized, it was 55 a couple weeks ago. It's 60 this week. And the total number who have recovered, it was 419 2 weeks ago, and it's 442 now. So, you know, the virus is continuing to grow, but people are continuing to recover from it. So I think that's good news. I also want to give a shout out to Rebecca Larson and the Helping Hands Food Bank. She reported in the paper today that in June they had increased over 160% over May, which was already a record month. As far as I know, they still have the National Guard there. It sounds like they do. She wants to keep them till the end of the month, but just doing an excellent job. There's still a lot of need out there, and she and her team are providing it. I think that was about it. I do want to give a reminder that for the Chevron cleanup that's happening at Hammer Heritage Square, the Department of Ecology is still accepting comments, and they will be accepting them through July 21st. And their website is on our website if you or anybody else wants to make comment regarding that. So I want to thank everybody for the chief, both chiefs actually, for all the service that they provided over the 4th, the weekend of the 4th. I believe both the fire, EMS, and the police department had record-breaking weeks as far as, or I should say weekends, as far as the number of calls, and they handled them with grace and with professionalism. So I extend my thanks to them as well. I also want to thank Nathan and his crew. You know, they're kind of the unspoken heroes, you might say, as far as the road crew. They put the signs up, they take the signs down, they put the banners up, they take the banners down. They beautify our city, they keep those flowers watered so through the summer months. So it's really a beautiful thing that they do for us. All right, other than that, I will move on to public comments, and we have not received any in the mail that I am aware of. And I do not see anybody online who would be willing to make any kind of a public comment. So we will move on to unfinished business. First on the list is the proposed 6-year transportation improvement program, the TIP. And Mr. Freiberger, that is you.
Thank you, Mayor. So we had the public hearing and our first read on the June 24th meeting, and we have this again tonight. I have the presentation available if anyone would like to see any of that again or have me repeat anything. But again, this is our annual process to update our transportation program. And I don't know what's going on with screens over here right now, but okay. If there's any questions about it, I'd be glad to try to address them.
Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Freiberger? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to supply the resolution number, please?
So it will be Resolution 1055-20.
Madam Mayor, I move Resolution 1055-20 adopting the 2021-2026 Transportation Improvement Program for the City of Sedro-Woolley.
All right.
Second, Councilman Owen.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman DeYoung and seconded by Councilman Owen to approve the adoption of Resolution 1055-20 adopting the 2021-2026 Transportation Improvement Plan. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on then to the proposed amended comprehensive plan, the amendment list. And Mr. Coleman, that is you.
Good evening again. Thank you. So back in March, the City Council approved the 2020 docket. That's the list of comprehensive plan items that the Planning Commission will work on. And the two things that were approved were a couple of rezone requests for private property owners, and those would remain. What we've determined is that Mark Freiberger and the Public Works Department are working on updates, an updated sewer comprehensive plan. That sewer comprehensive plan back in 2005 or 6, when it was last adopted, was adopted as part of the comprehensive, the full comprehensive plan. It's technically, the sewer comprehensive plan is technically part of the capital facilities element of the comprehensive plan. So we thought we should run it under the comprehensive plan cycle. And to do so, we just are asking that the council approve to put the sewer comprehensive plan on the 2020 docket along with the two existing items. That's all there is to this request.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Coleman? All right, hearing none, do we have a recommendation for action? This is our third read.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to add a third item to the 2020 comprehensive plan docket, amendments to the public facilities element of the comprehensive plan for the purpose of updating the sewer comprehensive plan.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman McGoffin, second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Kinzer, seconded by Councilman McGoffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then moving on, Mr. Coleman again, the Skagit County 2020 Multi-Jurisdiction Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Okay, so this is the second read on the what we used to call the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. They've updated the title to be the Skagit County 2020 Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Provided the link to it, the full document. There's one chapter that's specific to Sedro-Woolley that we worked with the jurisdictions to update. And if there's any questions on this, it's a second read, and we would just be passing a motion accepting it as the official natural hazard mitigation plan for the city of Sedro-Woolley, and that enables us to take advantage of FEMA money in the case that there might be a disaster.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for Mr. Coleman? All right, hearing none. Do we have a motion? And this will be Resolution 105620.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. DeYoung.
Councilmember DeYoung moves 105620 to add, sorry, the screenshot went away, so I'm unable to read the narrative.
I can read it after somebody seconds it.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Maybe there's
I
not.
second. Brenda.
So we have a motion by Councilman DeYoung and seconded by Councilwoman Kinzer to approve resolution 105620, authorizing the adoption of the Skagit County 2020 Multi-Jurisdiction Hazard Mitigation Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that carries. So, and I believe that's all we have. We do not have any new business. I did want to point out the fire department's monthly incident data, kind of fascinating. It's really, the numbers have really increased over last year. So if you haven't had a chance to thumb through that or read through that, it's a good one. And for the good of the order, I just wanted to bring to your attention something that Eric and Rachel Wagon Hoke had suggested. They would like the council to give some consideration to, and that is the possibility of closing Metcalf either late Friday, on Friday evenings or on Saturdays through the summer, so that the businesses would be able to extend their business outside and serve more people. I didn't know if the council wanted to explore this further, if you had any comments or questions regarding this. I do believe we would need to take this to our businesses downtown and talk with them first about this to see if this is something they'd even would like to do. But any thoughts or comments while this is up?
I think we should look into it further, because right now everybody needs all the business they can get, and if that will help, then yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see who the COVID monitor would be.
6 feet, wear your mask.
That's right. Are we going to put out chalk outlines?
So, well,
yeah, it needs to be discussed, but it's a great idea. I'm glad they brought it up. It's very European. It's awesome.
it is very European. Brock Stiles about 8-10 years ago made the same suggestion, and there was this modified version of it, but you wouldn't be able to maintain the 6 feet with what they did at that time. Okay, well, I will see what I can do. I'll reach out to the chambers, and I'll try to reach out to some of the business owners and see if they're interested. And if we're interested in considering this, is it something you want me to bring forth at the next council meeting?
I'd like to discuss it further, yes.
Okay.
I would, yeah, I would too.
Okay. All right. All right. Hearing no opposition, we will do that. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Okay, if not, then everybody have a great week, and we are adjourned.